You're a homeowner now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, congratulations.
Cool. Yes. Thank you.
And in this market.
I know. It was crazy. It really was. I put an offer on like a zillion places and I got beat out every time. So it was not without struggle, but gosh, when you go into music, you give up the certainty you will ever own a house. Like, you don't know. It's the most unreliable career path. I mean, you just don't know. And so it feels amazing to be able to have my name on a deed. I have like a little lawn. I'm like, I own this lawn.
You have to cut that lawn though.
Yeah, true.
Welcome to another episode of On the Porch with Front Porch Music. I'm Logan.
And I'm Jenna.
And today we talked with just, some Canadian country artist named Madeline Merlo. You may have heard of her before.
Or you may not have. If you haven't, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah, because you definitely have heard of her before.
We had such a great chat with Madeline. She is so sweet. She has crushed some huge milestones over the last couple of years, and we just broke it down. We talked about her reputation in Canada and how she has a really great fan base here. We talked about her experience on NBC's Songland, which was insane and not anything she thought it would turn out to be. It resulted in a #1 song that Lady A ended up cutting. Not only did that happen, but she also got a really sweet record deal out of it in the US. So Madeline's had a lot going on. She just released her new EP. It's called Slide. And if you haven't checked that out yet,
get on it. So here's our conversation with Madeline Merlo.
Thank you to our guest, Madeline Merlo, for joining us on the porch today. Madeline, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing today?
Top shelf.
Not too bad. Welcome to the porch.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I mean, it's a virtual porch. One day we'll have to do this on an actual porch. Well, Madeline, so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know that you just had some new music drop, which is really exciting. How's life going otherwise?
Life is good. I mean, it's definitely a busy season of life. There's lots of things happening at the same time, but I'm really good. Honestly, I'm really happy having the music out. It's been like years, that I've kind of been working on it and preparing and making sure my team was right and like making those like little changes to make sure everything was okay. So really feels like the gates have kind of opened and I can begin and promote it and play the shows and do the whole thing. So I'm really excited to start the journey because it's kind of like a second thing for me. This is my first release on this new label in the US. And so obviously in Canada, I've, had this career and then kind of at like square one again in the US. So I'm excited to like get to work and start building down here like I have up in Canada.
Yeah, I've always wondered how that kind of works with when you make the transition into more of an international audience. Does it kind of feel like you're like in some ways stepping back and starting right from the ground again? Or is it kind of like building on that momentum kind of?
I mean, I think it's incredible the situation that I'm in just because I've got a lot of experience. I'm really comfortable playing shows. I'm comfortable in these situations. But for a lot of people, for this new audience, I'm brand new. And so it's kind of like there's that. There is a little bit of a... The only thing is you work so hard to play some shows and people know your songs or know who you are. And that period when you're a new artist and you're playing these festivals or on an opening tour slot and nobody knows who you are and nobody really cares and you're playing and you're like, hello. And then people start to know your songs and that feels so good to walk out and feel like you've got, fans in the audience and moving up like the festival posters, your name starts to get a little bigger and things like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's like the process that when I start playing shows down here, my name's really small again and no one knows really who I am. But with the internet, you've got people that can access your music from anywhere. So we do have those fans and I'm so grateful for my Canadian fans who are always like there and supporting and showing up to stuff, even if it is in the U.S. and stuff. So, it's a different thing, but I think I'm really grateful for Canada, and it helps a lot, I guess I could say.
You kind of get to do the whole new artist thing with the firsts twice because, you get to experience that first new crowd singing songs back to you again. That's kind of cool. Not everybody gets to do that. Have you thought of it kind of like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's exciting. It's hard too. I mean, it's like,
Totally.
it's so, like playing a headlining show, and granted, it's not like I'm playing, big festivals or anything, but I have played a few shows where, people who are there to see you, and that's why they're there. And that is so amazing. Like, you just feel so, like, people know your music and they're there, and I feel so comfortable, in other situations, you're selling yourself. Like, you're like, please be a fan. I can press you. Like, there's just more pressure. But you're right. There is an exciting quality about winning a crowd over for the first time, and watching it slowly build, and watch more followers come in, and making new fans. And that process is really fun at the same time. So yeah, you're right. That's a great positive way of looking at it. So I love that.
Jenna, coming in with the positives.
Yeah, here, not usually me. I'm usually
not usually.
Laptop empty person, but that's okay. We do have so much to cover, though. This is not an audio or a video podcast by any means, but there's a nice sign in the background, which we're gonna have to talk about at some point too. It's number one on Billboard charts, and I don't know if anybody's heard a song called "Champagne Night." Little sneak,
yeah.
But we're gonna have to talk about that too.
Yeah, having that right in the background is such a flex. I love it.
Did you notice
it's funny. So this is like my living. It's really large, actually. It's huge, and it is in my living room. And I have like a music room that has other things in it, but the Wi-Fi doesn't work well in the music room, which is the most ironic thing. So I wasn't planning on doing like Zooms and stuff from my dining room table, but this is like where the Wi-Fi works the best, and it just happens to be right by this thing. So it wasn't even intentional.
I love it.
I feel like it works. I feel like it's
I'd be carrying that thing around with me everywhere I go.
On a Netflix,
I'd be putting like backpack straps on it, and just like, yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
That's funny.
So funny.
I love that. I think before we get through to 2020, 2021, 2022, I mean, 2020, I guess we got to include here, but I want to talk just a wee bit about some music you put out in 2020. The last time we heard new music from you, there was those 3 tracks: "If You Never Broke My Heart," "Kiss Kiss," and "It Didn't." And those were freaking bangers, and I still hear them on the radio here all the time. So that was kind of like your closing chapter before something really new. So I just want to hear a little bit about what those 3 tracks maybe represent for you before you have this great evolution that we've seen.
Yeah, so you're right. It really was kind of like the closing of that chapter, and that whole concept was this circular. It kind of started with "If You Never Broke My Heart" being this song that's about being in the middle of a breakup, and not being so devastated, but not really being all right either. And I just thought that was a cool place to like have a song, a perspective of being like dead in the middle. And "Kiss Kiss" is kind of like, you're in your like reckless phase of like, whatever, this just happened, I'm all messed up. And then "It Didn't" is like at the other end of the tunnel. And it definitely has like a relationship concept, but more than anything, it was really written about like mental health, I think, in the kind of sneaky way in there. I think when I perform it, and I think when it is received, it's like, I thought it would kill me, but it didn't, is this powerful statement that I think everyone, put their own label on whatever they went through. And for me, it feels like mental health to me. So I love like that I had got to kind of wrap up. This is my last on my Canadian record deal. It was my last thing that I put out with them. And I just love that music so much. Certainly It Didn't was a huge thing. It was 2.5 years since I released anything. And that song just kept on going. Like, it was on Confidence Boost on Spotify. I mean, it's almost 7 million streams. It continued to live for 2 years after I released it, that we were getting new fans of that song. So it kind of like took on a little bit of a life of its own.
It still gets quite a few streams on our top country playlists on Spotify. Like, that song really resonated with people. And I think for those reasons that you said, like, it can be, I thought it would kill me, but it didn't. It can mean so much to everybody, like you just said. It can mean something different to everyone who's listening it. For me, I love that song. It's full transparency. This might be embarrassing or weird, but it's on my forever, like, I have my own playlist on Spotify. It's on my forever on repeat playlist. Like, I just love that it's
I love
like,
that.
like it starts and you think it's going to be, go one way, like a bit of a ballad, but then, it just kind of kicks in, and I love it. I don't know. I love it.
Also, the
Thanks.
music video is hilarious.
Love the music video.
Thanks.
What a production.
I know. I was like a crazy scientist with that music video. I'm like, then there's all the different Madelines, and there's the business Madeline, and then there's the boxer Madeline. Like, it was so fun to record, and like the use of like horns and stuff. That song was like a passion thing for me. Like, I was very specific. I knew exactly what I wanted it to sound like. We got like the Nashville horn section to play on it. Like, all of those are live horns. Yeah, it was incredible making it, and I'm really proud of that one and love playing it. I mean, we open the show with it every time we play, and it's just like it gets everybody in a good headspace and a good zone for the rest of the show.
No kidding. How much involvement do you like to have creatively in terms of music video and visual, like generally speaking? Is that a place where you're like, I need my big stamp on this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in Canada too, usually when you're with a label, there's a lot of people, a lot of opinions, a lot of staff, it's their job is to kind of like do that stuff. In Canada, when you get a little success, you get more control back, I think. And so because your fans best, what, fits the song, everything. So I would say that I had a lot of control. And when I moved over to this US label, I was really nervous that I wasn't going to get as much control as I had. But this new label, BBR and BMG, they are so incredible. Like, they literally, when it came to the video, all the music, they were like, we just want you to create something, you love and you feel passionate about. And there was no like, where's the songs, or like, we hate this one. And they let me just do it. And me with my producer, like, we had so much creative control, and they were just there to like support. And I'm sure if we had something that was terrible or everyone like unanimously hated, they would say something. But it was incredible to receive like this trust from them. That's really amazing. So we just filmed a slide video recently. And I mean, that was just us, me and my producer, my management, talking about it. What do we want it to feel like? And the label was like, go for it. Like, I just love that so much. They let artists be artists at that label. And I'm really grateful to be there.
Do you think maybe also you have this like reputation and repertoire of work up here as well that kind of gives you, like, you've done the work and you've built this for yourself, so there's like a little bit of trust that you've almost earned already, even coming into a new label, because you've done that, right?
That's very true. I think that, I mean, it's worked in another market. Why wouldn't it work down here? I imagine there might be a bit of that thought, but I hope so. I think that they like that about me too, that I'm experienced. And I think the hardest part about being an artist is like figuring out who you are, what type of music you're doing, your sound, your look, your brand, like all of those things are important, because there's a lot of people telling you should do this, you should do that, and following trends, and like, this would be good for TikTok. It's like there's a whole, circus going on. And so because of the experience, I'm like, I know who I am, what I want to say, what I want everything to look like, to the color scheme. I've got it, and I'm very specific. And I think
that's important too.
With that confidence,
like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, that's important too, because like, if you're trying to fit into a mold that's not you, then it's going to come across to everybody, and it's
for sure.
It might work for one or two songs or one or two releases, but that's not going to be sustainable if it's not actually what you like or who you are.
For sure. And I always say, like, nobody can see through that more than the crowd. Like, we know that, being at a concert and you're like, can't feel it, I don't know why. Or you see, like, Miranda Lambert is her to her core. You watch her perform, you hear her music, you just get it. The minute you hear her voice, the songs, the look, stage, it's like, you know who she is immediately. And she's just herself. And I think that you feel that authenticity when you're.
Is that an artist that you kind of really look up to? I mean, that's not a great question, because everyone does.
Yeah, I mean, she's fantastic. She's an incredible songwriter. She's, like I said, really set on her brand, which I really admire. I love the philanthropy she does with the animals and rescue dogs, and just music being centered in it. And yeah, I think that she's a big inspiration everyone probably. She's just awesome. She's so cool. I mean, Gunpowder and Lead. Like I remember where I was when I heard that song, and I was like,
yeah.
Or like Kerosene. I mean, growing up, she was awesome. She was such a badass.
You glazed over something, you say like your experience, and I think we should like put a big stamp on the fact that you were really young when you got your first record deal and you were doing the thing. So like, how old were you? Like 18, 19? Were you still in high school?
Yeah. So I signed I think like I was working with the label, but didn't actually sign the contract till I turned 18 because it's like illegal, I think. But like I was working with them before I was 18. I started off like singing demos for the songwriter. I've got a really like random like luck, right place, right time story. How I got that deal is so crazy. But yeah, I was quite young and I remember one of the first shows I ever played after I signed was with Dean Brody at Abbotsford Arena. And I was like, an arena? Like what? Like I hadn't even I put in-ears in for the first time. I was thrown into the fire, it felt like. And blessed with really great opportunities like really early on.
So when we say like your experience, like you've been doing the thing, which is so cool.
Yeah, I certainly put in the time, I always say. I mean, I think like, what is it, imposter syndrome? It's hard not to like feel that. Even I've been doing, like my mom always goes, think about how long you've been doing this for. But I mean, every time I'm like in the writing room with someone like, you know, having a song and Sam Hunt's a writer on, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I get this? Like how did I get here? Like you just have that like thought. And my mom always goes, we certainly put in enough time. And I'm like, true. I've been doing this a long time. Many hours, many days, many nights, the whole thing. So yeah.
100%. I needed to call that out because that was not a small thing. Okay, let's jump to how the hell you landed on NBC's Songland. Because you told me that a little bit about that. We had a little conversation a couple of weeks ago. So why don't you tell Logan, maybe he doesn't know, I'm not sure, but how you ended up on Songland. It wasn't an application necessarily to begin with. It was something else.
Tell me, I need to know.
It was so random. So honestly, like years ago, I don't know if I don't remember. I have like a shortened story and like a longer story, but I'll tell you the longer one. But I got a message on Instagram from this casting director in my DMs, and he was like, hey, I'm casting for this show called The Playlist on NBC. It's like The Voice, but you play your own music. I heard Neon Love on Wild Country, and I think you should play it on this show on NBC. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. So I go through all these auditions, meet like the director, the casting director. They probably did like a background check, went through this whole process. And then at the end, they were like, just kidding, the show's not being made. So I was like, cool. And so I don't hear from this like person for so long. And then randomly, like literally 3 years later, maybe 2.5 years later, they reach out again. And they're like, hey, we remember you from this other thing. Would you be open to Songland season 2? And I was like, okay. And they were like, can you send us music? And we sent them one song. And then they called me and they were like, your flight's tomorrow.
Holy.
Like, it happened that quick. And because I went through like that whole process before, I didn't have like all of the stuff to do because they already, I guess, like did all those checks for me. So yeah, it was so fast. Wow. I was freaking out. I remember on the airplane, there was like this tiny little dog next to me and it sat in my lap like the whole time because I was so anxious. And I was like, oh, this dog is like a good omen that like I'm doing the right thing and stuff. So, but it was a whirlwind and it was right before COVID. I mean, it was 2020. We filmed January 2020.
When you get that first DM for that original show, is that something that you're like, that's not real? Like, because there's so many of those random weird DMs that come into everybody. Is that like the first thing that goes through your mind?
Yes, for sure. I mean, you're like, And I think I looked obviously him up, and he was a casting director for NBC. So it was a bit legitimized, like, but by just like researching it. But even then, I mean, the music industry is a lot of no's, a lot of almost as well too. So throughout that whole process, even like to the end of Songland, it's like, it's probably going to fall through. You're not going to win. And it's like, it sounds cynical, but it's like, I don't know how many times I've been this close to something amazing and it didn't happen. It's just, it is what it is. It's like people say a lot of stuff. They're like, oh, we're going to have you out and you're going to play this, you're going to do that. And that doesn't happen. So you learn early on in this business to kind of like keep your expectations here until it's like for sure. And then let yourself get excited. So, yeah, I was like very like kind of even about it. I didn't know like what to expect or if it would pan out. But yeah, it definitely did at the end of it all.
Your song, which ended up winning, was now Champagne Night, but it started off as something different, right? A little different.
Yeah, it was called I'll Drink to That is what it was called. And I wrote it, I think Beer Never Broke My Heart had just come out with Combs, and I was like, I want to write a song that like everybody would want to like put a drink up in the air to, something like anthemic and fun. And that whole song is just like getting paid on a Friday, blah, 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 highway, you know, praying for something, watching it come true. I'll drink to that. It was just like a bunch of like awesome stuff that you would drink to. And then it became Champagne Night.
Yeah, and then Lady Antebellum put it out as their radio single.
Yeah.
Was that part of the deal, or was that like just something that they fell in love with the song and they're like, this needs to be our single?
Yeah, I mean, going on the show, I did not think, you know, of course that I would win. I mean, I was like, I get to sing on TV. That's like my whole thing. I was like, this is good exposure. I get to sing on TV for sure. Certainly didn't expect to win, but none of those songs had really gone on to do anything from that show. I mean, they had streams and stuff like that, but not like radio or anything. So that wasn't even something I was like dreaming about or thinking about would be a possibility. Lady A took their current song that was on the radio and took it off and put, you know, my song on, which is like a very unheard of thing to do in general, because it costs a lot of money to put a song to radio. So, you know, they pulled that and put the song on. And then the way they like announced it was a Zoom with me.
Yeah, that was really
cool.
They
were like, we want to Zoom you on Monday or something. And I was
And you're
so
like, let me
shocked.
check my schedule.
Yeah, I'll be available. I know. So it was just so cool. I mean, they didn't have to do that. You know, they didn't have to announce it involving me. I mean, it changed that blew open so many doors for me. And afterwards, you know, like Hillary had me on some stuff with her, and Dave Haywood was like so encouraging, and he like invited me to become a Grammy member because you get to like nominate somebody in. Like they were just beyond nice and kind and supportive of me. So I'm so grateful. They're the best people ever, I think.
I love them. I've seen them probably 6 or 7 times live. I love them.
They're so good. Yeah, they're amazing.
I feel like this just like lines up correctly. Like this makes sense. And like your song landed with good people. You're a good human. This is like all feels like it happened right, you know, like it could have like gone so differently, but like you work so hard and you're nice to people and you deserve it. So like this is so cool. Seeing that thing hanging behind you. That's cool.
And then the song went number 1.
Yeah. And then you got a CCMA for it.
I know. It truly was the thing that just kept on giving. It's funny too because growing up, I did a lot of like singing competitions and talent shows, and I literally never won. Like I was always third or didn't place or in the chorus. The first award I ever won was the Rising Star in 2015 CCMAs. And then I didn't win anything after that. I got nominated for a ton of stuff, never won. And then that year I won, obviously got a number 1 song. I won an ASCAP award, a SOCAN award, a Indie award. I won a NSAI award. I won all these like awards in 1 year. I was like, I've never won anything. And then this year from this song, it was like all because of that. So it definitely landed me some hardware, and it was just funny. I was like, I've literally never won anything, and all of these awards are showing up. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
That's the best thing to hold out for. It was just the universe waiting. It was like, we're going to give it to you. Just you wait.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that seems like a great spot for us to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Madeline Merlo.
Hey, this is Madeline Merlo, and you're listening to On the Porch with Front Porch Music.
Why don't we get into what's been going on this year and last year for you? Because one, musically, so much is going on, but you've got to do some like life things too, right? You are a fiance. That's pretty big.
Yes, very big. Yeah, I know all of the life stuff. It's been a crazy couple of years for sure. But I think with COVID, I mean, it kind of stopped everybody, and I think I'd been so like career focused for a long time. It was good to be like, okay, like who am I apart from this, and being able to, fall in love and build a relationship while not traveling every weekend was big, I think. And also, it wasn't about me being an artist or anything. I was just Madeline, and we fell in love because of that, and that was really cool.
It's funny, we hear story after story. I mean, obviously the pandemic was terrible in so many ways, but it really forced everyone to slow down a bit. And we've heard story after story when talking with artists that it was like, it ended up being a great thing, which is weird to say, but.
Yeah, I think like, I can't speak for everybody, but I know a lot of artist friends that I have, we feel the same way, but like our worth is really tied into our job. And so when music is doing well, Madeline's doing well. When music isn't doing well, Madeline's not doing well. And it's a really, really dangerous thing to put your piece into something that is ever changing and that is a roller coaster. And so it's hard. And I think COVID for me, especially, was like, because I couldn't be, there was nothing you could do. I wrote a lot of songs, but other than that, I mean, you couldn't push your ball forward very well unless, I mean, making TikToks, that was it. Like, it was just whatever we could do with our phones. And it made me be like, okay, like, I'm proud of who I am as a daughter and a sister and a friend and a dog owner, and I like to paint and I like other things too, and got to kind of find like my identity a little bit more outside of music, and that like gave me freedom. I feel like I'm like such a better artist for it or something. I don't know. It was great for me.
About having the time and space to be able to do that, because some like you're saying, like, you didn't have that time beforehand to be able to just sit down and be like, okay, who am I outside of an artist and a performer? What does that actually mean to me? Because it's so important. Like, let's talk another conversation about like identity development and that kind of stuff, but it's so critical too, right?
For sure, to be like a functioning, healthy human, I really think it does, and a more level person. It's the thing. It's exhausting. I mean, if you live, they say like if you live for the applause, like you'll die by the boos or die by the silence or something. And it's like, it's just a lot. That's like my number one piece of advice for new artists, or when like parents say like, oh, my daughter loves to sing. I'd be like, please make sure she knows that she's like, it's such a beautiful thing to do. I love my job more than anything in the world, but like, she's like so much more beautiful and amazing in like other ways too. Like, remind her that it's not all about this, and that she's a person, her soul is like what matters, not what she can achieve.
That's a really great reminder. Like, you've been an advocate for mental health for a very long time, as long as I've known you to be on the scene. That includes the release of your song Warpaint. Can you tell us a bit about Warpaint, how that came to be, and all of that behind that song? Because it's a really powerful song.
Thank you. Yeah, I love Warpaint. So I had a friend take her own life when I was like 17, right before we graduated high school, and it rocked me. It was the
of course
thief of my innocence. It was like, I don't think I had a concept of like you would choose to die. I don't know. It sounds very dark and heavy, but it was like,
well, it is dark and heavy. Like, in that moment, you're forced to think about that.
Yeah, I was just very young. I was like 16. I was like, oh my gosh. And I had no idea she was struggling. Not a clue. She was she's beautiful, bright blonde, bubbly, lit up every room she walked into, popular, had a ton of friends. She was so funny. Everybody loved her. Like, she was it completely like messed with my whole head. And we find out later she was really, really struggling and just didn't tell anybody. I mean, it was like a few people knew in her family, but like none of us knew. And I wanted to like write a song about it for a while, and it just kind of kept coming out like really sad. And I'm like, I don't know how to say this. And then it was like one magical night, right, that I had, and we wrote Warpaint that night. And it was like the first time that I wrote a song as a songwriter that I was like, I'm really, really proud of this song, this piece of art that I made. And my first album was done. And I remember calling the label that night. It was like 11:30 at night. And I was like, this song has to be on it. It has to be single. Like, it was like, I was like, I need to say this. Because that song is just like, there are people that love you. They're there. You have to just, like, I promise you they're there. Let them help you. Let them fight for you. And it was I felt so pulled to say that. And I don't know, I think mental health has rocked my life, and obviously in that way. And then, in my own, like, I, struggle with anxiety and depression myself. So it's kind of this multifaceted song where it's like, you're singing it for other people, and then you're singing it for yourself at the same time. And I think that it touches both people on either end. And But yeah, I feel like the perspective of loving somebody with mental health and wanting to help them is something so many people relate to. Like, I don't know, so many people have been like, my mom, my brother, my friend, my boyfriend, like, I'm the person, like, I hold him tightly, or I hold her tightly when, like, she's struggling. And, like, those people are so important, so I wanted a song for them as well, too.
Unfortunately, but fortunately, it's such a universal experience. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we all feel it in some way, whether it's personally or in our families. And I think, like I said, unfortunately universal that people go through, but also fortunate that we go through it together. And you hope that everybody
Yeah.
feels that there's other people they can reach out to and whatnot. Ah, happy
Yeah,
friends.
and it's
Yeah.
come such a long way. Like, I mean, I think that we're able to talk. Like, me and my friends, like, I went to therapy the other day, and like, our generation is able to be so open about
Oh,
that
yeah.
and get help. And the stigma is kind of like, I think our parents' generation, they're struggling a little bit to kind of shake that off, but we are, and I think we're raising a generation that are able to be like, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I'm going through this. I feel this way, and that's so important to do. I mean, like I said, when my friend died, I honestly didn't even, I don't think I had a concept of mental health or suicide or anything. I was like, what? Like, I had no idea. So I think it's come a long way, and we're all able to be like, my friend, I haven't heard from her in a while. Like, I should reach out to her. Like, she might be triggered by this thing on the news. I don't know what it is. So I think that we're much more aware, and I think that even though they say like mental health is like on the decline, which is really sad, but I think that we're also, like you said, universally like holding each other's hand and going through it together. So yeah, I definitely think it's better than it has been on that front.
All that to say, anyone listening, if you're struggling, let someone know.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, always.
Okay, let's bring back the happy, because I think
Yeah, my bad.
good. You signed a record deal with a US label for the first time. So, and you've got brand new music out. Let's talk about
Yes.
all of that. So
Yeah.
your new label, let's go through the whole thing.
Yeah, so honestly, through Songland, kind of just opened a ton of doors, and I took a bunch of meetings with a few different labels, but I loved BBR. I just loved the energy and the attitude with their whole staff, and they were like, you know, we fight so hard for our artists, we won't give up on you. Like, I don't know, I just really liked what they had to say and their whole kind of philosophy over there. So they were like a pretty immediate yes for me when I got to meet them. BBR has Jason Aldean, they've got Chase Rice and Dustin Lynch, Lainey Wilson, Jimmy Allen, Jelly Roll, like all these really great artists that are very uniquely themselves. And so I felt really good about the decision to land with them, which was cool. I signed in 2020 over Zoom, which was so anticlimactic. I was like by myself and like signed a DocuSign. Like, you just have this imaginary, like, you'd sign it in this boardroom and everyone would like burst into applause.
A big cake comes out and balloons go out. Yeah. And you're just on Zoom like everyone else in 2020.
Yeah, truly. And they were like, okay, bye. And I was like, bye. And I just sat there and I was like, oh, like, this isn't like what I wanted to be. But
someone hug me.
Totally, yeah. That's how I felt. I like called my mom, like, this doesn't feel how I thought it would feel. And she's like, it's fine. It's good. It's all good. So that was a little odd, but I really enjoyed, you know, my time with them, and just started like writing like crazy, and really felt pressure to create like the best thing I'd ever done, which is not a great creative place to write from. And I felt like I was kind of like going in a circle until I started working with my new producer, Zach Kroll, and that kind of pointed me in like this direction, and I started to kind of click and figure out what the project was going to sound like. So he was kind of like the game changer. And then we wrote the rest of the EP, and we've got like 4 other songs as well, kind of like waiting in the wings, ready to come out. So those will come out later next year, which is very exciting.
No kidding. Let's talk about Slide first. That's a pretty cool song. You said you're working on a music video for it. You just finished the music video for it. So, and that's the title track too. So what's so important about Slide for you?
Slide was the first song. So it was like the catalyst, it feels like, to the whole project. And like I said, it was the song that I was like, okay, I like this. I'm going to go that way. And everything started to kind of flow after that. Zach had called me randomly and was like, me, Sam Hunt, and this writer named Jerry Flowers started the song. There's not really like a lot of lyric. There's no hook. There's nothing. It's just more like a melody. Would you want to jump in and finish it? And I was like, no. Yeah, I would miss my own funeral for such thing. Like, of course. So he sends me the track, and it's really cool. It has this like weird progressions, weird kind of throwbacky like groove to it, and these kind of like dancey melodies, and it felt really fun. And I was like, okay, I have to come up with, what is this song about? Like, what are we doing? And me and Zach and Jerry, and we all kind of like threw some ideas around, and we kind of landed on Slide. Felt really fresh and cool, and I spent like days trying to come up with a really cool hook for it, and we rewrote it a bunch of times as well, which is something I've learned in the last few years, is like tweaking and rewriting and changing, and that's kind of Zach's process, and that's really helped me as a creator. So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, we finished it and sent it to the label. The label loved it, and I was like, okay, I like this. Let's go that direction. And that really means Zach were like, okay, we've got something special. Let's finish the other songs. And it just started the whole thing. And so I'm really grateful for that song. And it started everything. So yeah, I hold it close for sure.
Definitely. And another track I want to point out is Girl Where He Grew Up. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure you told me that wasn't actually initially on the EP.
Yeah.
But it had some love from TikTok that kind of helped you to say, hey, listen, right?
Yeah. We have this song, I'll tell you guys, but there's a song called Same Car that was supposed to be on the EP. And Same Car is so cool. Same Car is like, it's a whole thing. And I felt like Same Car needed to come out alone. It just is like, it's a very cinematic song. So I wanted it to have its own graphic. I wanted it to have its own thing. And we kind of talked back and forth about that. And I was waving the Girl Where He Grew Up flag forever. I was like, I think this song is so great. I think we should have put it out 8 months ago. Like, let's go. And so, again, like I said, the label is so amazing at, like, hearing you, you know? So I was like, look, I really feel like we should do the song instead. People love it. The song, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud as a writer to have written it. It's so cool. People like it. I think we should put on the EP. And they were like, cool. So we ended up last minute switching Same Car out for this. But I'm, like I said, very excited to put Same Car out as well. So it was like the original song. So I feel like that's a cool piece of information.
Yeah, now I'm itching to hear Same Car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very cool.
Girl Where He Grew Up is a thing, though. Like, it showed up on my For You page, and I was like, I know this gal. What's going on here? And then the lyrics, the beginning of that, it's just like, yep, that's me. We've all, like, we are all that. I feel like we're all that for somebody. So,
for
you're
sure.
welcome to the next girl, whatever. But, like, it's such a, you also made it a little bit lighter, right? Like, it's still, like, you're welcome, but I'm also doing good too, you know? Right?
Mm-hmm. That's, like, I think what I'm really passionate about as a writer is, like, the female story, the perspective, but, like, also my character. I didn't want her to be petty. I didn't want her to be angry, because she's not. She's not brokenhearted. She's not hurting. She's just saying, I'm just saying, if he's, like, doing it right, it's because I put in the work, but it's good. We're fine. No big deal. There's no, like, there's no, and even when we were cutting the vocal, Zach kept being like, you're being too, like, it's too, like, finger pointy. Like, stop that. Like, we're effortless. We're calm about it. We're just stating it. It's the perspective. You're over it. You're cool with it, but you're just telling her. And to have, like, that mindset and singing it, I wanted it not to come across, like, dramatic or angry, because it's not. Like I said, it's very matter of fact. And so that song is very unique. I think it's got a unique perspective and attitude to it. So that resonated with people, certainly. There was, like, fights going on in TikTok comments. It was so funny. I was like, oh, my gosh, it's a song.
We got it all.
Gotta love TikTok.
Totally. I know it was a jungle in there, but it's just so cool. I mean, TikTok is a wild app, but I mean, to just write a song and be like, I'm going to post this, and then 4 hours later it had 1 million views. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's like an immediate audience test.
Totally, yeah. And there's no prediction of what songs are going to hit, what's not going to hit. One video you get like 5,000 views, one video you get like 2 million views. You just
Tell
don't
us
know.
About it.
It's just the gamble. So it's so exciting. It's frustrating, but it's exciting. And when something does hit, like it's crazy to have like your phone's like blowing up and people love it, and then you've got the negative people and you're like, whoa, it's just like a roller coaster.
100%.
Yeah, our TikTok's all over the place like that too. It's like one video will have like 100,000 views and the next is like 20.
Yeah. It's like it's just the TikTok god.
It's real humbling.
Totally.
You can't tie your value to numbers. You really can't. On the social media thing, are you on Be Real?
No, I have that. I have it, but I haven't started it. But I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome though. Like, I love the concept of it. I think it's really rad, and I like it's just like a very real way of sharing. I think that it's like
unfiltered.
Social media, it's it's cool, and I like it's like in the moment what everybody's doing. I think it's like kind of what Instagram used to be. It was like something would happen and you would post about it right away and then you'd like move on. Now it's like everything's so curated and there's an ad involved and whatever. So I think it's super cool. I've been meaning to use it more, but
Jenna and I were talking about it ironically just before you hopped on here, and I was like, I have it, but like every time the notification comes on, I'm just watching TV, and it's just my life is not that boring, and I don't need that to be all over the place.
Totally. I know. It's like, I'm exposed. I'm not doing anything. I'm still on the couch.
And then I'd feel attacked.
I only downloaded Be Real when I was in the mountains earlier, like last month. So I was like, every day is going to be dope because either the front view or the back view is going to be a mountain. And then I got home and I was like, damn it.
No.
My desk again, everybody. Another coffee. Yeah, it is what it is. But it's cool, though. Like, it does.
Yeah.
My Gen Z friends are the ones who got me into it. And they were like, come on, it's like the unfiltered you. It's like scrappy. It's not Instagram. You can't see anybody's photo until you post yours, which is also cool. Mm-hmm. So, like, it makes you participate. If you're not going to play the game, then you don't get to see what everybody else is doing. So I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Except everyone's now posting their Be-Reals on Instagram, so.
Very true, I know.
The most counterintuitive thing I've ever heard, but anyways.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's hysterical.
Anyway, yeah, the social media game is absolutely wild. And there's a lot, even as an artist, that you're expected to do, right? How do you manage all of that?
I don't know. It's a tricky thing. I think that you can very easily get into like a negative headspace about it. I think it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of artists that are frustrated because it's like, why don't you just write something that'll blow up on TikTok and then we'll put money behind it? Or writing from that perspective, it's like, I hope this goes viral. It's like, that's not how, John Mayer wrote his Continuum album. Like, we're trying to make real stuff here. And so I think you can get kind of frustrated by that. And I mean, it's like, what, I got to dance to this video in order to do well? Like, it kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's an amazing tool. There's a lot of positives to it as well. I think it can be dangerous if you don't have your like head on straight, but I think you just got to lean in, and it's free marketing, and it's a way for me to share my music with a bigger audience, and I'm down to do it. I don't have like I said, a negative thing. Anything that I feel like, I guess I'm thinking just Instagram, but anything that I feel sparks like maybe jealousy or insecurity in me, I mute that person or that account, so I don't look at it, and I'm very like cognizant.
That's very healthy.
That. Yeah, because it's like, it's hard, if you're comparing yourself to somebody else. So I just am like, okay, I don't need to see that every day. Push that aside and try to focus on the positives. But I can see how it could be dangerous and kind of like hard if you weren't mindful about that, I guess.
Totally. There's a fine balance too, right?
Definitely.
Well, we are unfortunately coming to the end of our time with you, Madeline. I want to be respectful of your time. But where can people find you?
You can find me pretty much everywhere. Outside your house, just kidding.
Madeline, there you are.
There I am. I'm on like all of the things, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that. And it's just Madeline Merlo. Nothing else. So it's pretty easy, simple to find. But I so appreciate you guys having me on today. This was such a great chat. I love it.
Oh my God, literally anytime. Next time it'll have to be on like an actual, rocking chair on our front porch. And like
a banjo, maybe it would be great.
Banjo, having a couple drinks. Yes, please.
I love it. It'd be great.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Porch with From Porch Music. I love talking to artists and digging deep into the world of Canadian country music, and I'm so excited you joined. If you liked this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. That's the easiest way for you to support this show. You may even get a shout out. So we'll see you in a couple weeks next time on The Porch. On The Porch with Front Porch Music is hosted by me, Logan Miller, and Jenna Weiser. The theme song was written, produced, and performed by Owen Wrigley.